Hey everybody, and welcome to Talking Poop, the podcast where we get to the bottom of the movies, music, and media that you guys love and some that you hate. I'm your host, Jason Bromley, and we're here with our very special guest today, Dakota McCalman Rose. And he is an avid video gamer who's here to talk us through the better franchise, Resident Evil or Silent Hill.
Do you lose sleep at night? Grab your pillow tight. Do you struggle to find why Han and Luke had to die? Are you just a mess? Does Hollywood leave you stressed? Because their sequels are more important than fan requests. Hold on to your chair, cause Talking Poop takes you there. You might have to change into some new underwear. Talking Poop.
I've been playing video games for the better part of 20 years. Ever since I found out we had a PlayStation when I was like less than 5 in our house. Started playing Crash Bandicoot and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
Those are two classics. You started off well.
Yes.
Now, I'm from the school where I started off with Atari, playing Donkey Kong and Bump and Jump.
And I moved on to those as years went by. I went back and played the classics.
You went back to appreciate.
Yes, but
That's good.
there is a generational gap between us.
It's true, but that's a good place for a gamer to start. It shows that you appreciate your roots by going back
Yeah.
to the old stuff. I really got my gaming start though with like Atari. Like I was little. Like my real video gaming started when I got a Nintendo, and it was Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt.
And I actually have a copy of those at my house right now.
Excellent. You're still rocking some Duck Hunt?
Yeah.
You got the gun and everything?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice. All right, so Resident Evil came into my vision pretty early on. That was the game that I saw people playing, and I was like, okay, I got to get a PlayStation.
Yeah.
And that was the first time when I had a job. I was able to go out and buy the system, and it came with Crash Bandicoot, and the first game that I purchased was Resident Evil. And to me, Resident Evil changed the
environment
yeah
for the horror game genre.
There was no horror game genre. I mean, you had ghouls and ghosts and Castlevania.
Yeah, which scary at the time. Nothing that Resident Evil brought into the fold.
Yeah, Resident Evil for the first time brought a horrifying video game experience where it actually made you jump. It was scary to play. I was tense the entire time that I was playing it. The atmosphere of it is just so cool.
Yeah, and a lot of that had to do with the music involved.
Mm-hmm. The music, and then the opening of the doorways on each loading screen.
The nice creak when you transition between levels.
Which sucks because we know as gamers that it was a loading screen,
yeah,
and it's loading the next room. But it did create a lot of creepy atmosphere, even if it was frustration that you're just like, come on, what's in this next room?
You know what? Playing it through the first time, I was expecting one of those doors to have something behind it, probably halfway through the game.
Right.
Because you're already at the point where you're like, oh, it's just a fucking loading screen.
Right.
And then they have some crazy demon jump out at you.
Right. Well, what was crazy and really scary is that sometimes in those loading screens, just a half a second before the room popped up and you saw where you were at, you would hear the noise of what was going on in that room. So you could sometimes hear a moan, or sometimes you could hear the clock ticking before the door opened, and you're like, oh, some awful puzzle's gonna be in here. But when you heard that, you were like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
All I have is a pistol and I only have 5 rounds.
Yeah, and part of that has to be kind of limitations with the software, but it isn't like games today where you have complete free movement, I feel.
Right.
When they have that top-down view with almost tank controls, you're not necessarily avoiding a zombie that's right in front of you on the next doorway.
Right. Well, and one of the things that I read about when I was researching Resident Evil is that when they were developing it, and it was called Biohazard back in Japan, when they were developing it, they originally developing it to be a full 3D rendered game. But they realized that the limitations of the PlayStation software or the hardware at that time just wasn't anywhere near being able to handle that kind of game. So then they had to pre-render the environments, which led them to have predetermined movements.
Yep.
So that's where you get that blocky, horrible movement that Resident Evil had. But this is one of the few times where things that were restraints on them at the time, they worked into something positive. Yeah. The loading screens with the doors opening added to the atmosphere of it, added to the creepiness of it. And then so did the controls that were frustrating at first, but once you got the hang of them, you could really line up a good headshot on a zombie and take his head clean off with the shotgun. And as the games progressed in the sequels, and you did get more of a free range of movement, it really did like kill that. You became more of like a superhero. It became more of an action game. Whereas in the first ones, even though you were supposed to be like on this elite squad,
this is new.
The stars.
The stars, yes, the
stars unit went in to like take them out, but they were under-equipped, and I'd say undertrained, because they were very stiff in their movements, and they were not badass at all. These very slow-moving zombies could kick your ass pretty hard.
Oh yeah.
The crazy thing though is that they'd move slow as hell walking down the hallway, and then when they'd reach out and grab you, it seemed like that happened real fast.
Yes, sir.
And then the way that they used to munch on you, just chomp down on your neck, and you're like, and you could push them away.
Yeah, but it makes you as the player feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly. We should go back real fast. We should go back to so from the beginning of Resident Evil, you pop it in, and you get Resident Evil.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of the House of the Dead arcade games.
Yeah, which were very like they definitely pulled from the Resident Evil scares. But that was just. It was cheesy, but it was like, we're about to do this thing.
It reminded me of like a Romero zombie movie.
Absolutely.
You know, there's going to be a bit of cheesiness to it, but at the same time, once you really invest yourself, you're like, oh shit.
So then it goes into the cutscene, and you see something that you've pretty much never before seen, and we really haven't seen it since. Was live actors playing the cutscene.
Yes, that was
absolutely crazy.
That was a very big thing for a very small amount of games. They would do stuff like that. Yeah.
Now I remember Sega CD was doing this.
Yep.
A buddy of mine had Sega CD, and they would use live actors, but it was very choppy gameplay. It was more like the side of the screen would light up, like the right side, and you had to push the right side button, and then that would make. It was called Sewer Shark.
Sewer Shark.
Yeah.
The way what you're describing to me sounds a lot like Dragon's Lair.
Yeah, it was exactly that thing. But this was live action filmed, and you were supposed to be in this like sewer ship, and basically like there would be offshoots in the tunnel, and you'd have to turn the right way or else you blew up.
Oh.
And every once in a while, like your character would pop on like the screen, like in Star Wars, where you see the cockpit view.
Yep.
And he would talk to you, and it was like live action. So that was like through the whole game. This was just like a cut scene that was filmed in live action. The characters looked amazingly like the characters in the game,
which is really good because, like we talked about, the hardware limitations.
Exactly.
These live-action cutscenes really gave you an idea for what these characters look like, despite the fact that they're a bunch of polygons once you get into the game.
Right, and also that you felt like you were, because they did that. You're like, whoa, this is something I've never seen before. This is like fresh and new. Now, those live-action cutscenes, unfortunately, don't continue throughout the game.
Yeah.
As soon as you step into the mansion, you get no more live-action cutscenes. You're down to these polygonal shit shows that they give you.
It was a product of the time.
Instantly, you start getting that awful Resident Evil voiceover that they're now famous for.
Yep.
Oh, Jill, this house is dangerous. There are terrible demons. Ouch!
I've heard it both ways. I've heard that it's poorly translated from the Japanese version, and then I've also heard it's just written that badly.
Resident Evil also came out in 1993. It was very early, even in the PlayStation's life cycle. It was a flagship for it.
What's crazy is that it supposedly took place in the future of 1997.
2 years after I was born. That would have been insane.
I graduated high school in 97.
Oh, you old bastard.
Old bastard. So the setup story is that team of the Bravo team.
Yeah.
They were like a search and rescue team. Crashes their helicopter in the Arklay Mountains. They're attacked by something, and we don't know what. And they get into this mansion, and they disappear. And so another team, the Alpha team, is sent in with Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, and they're supposed to go in and find the Bravo team. Their helicopter lands, but they're attacked by a creepy dog thing.
Yep.
And then they run into the mansion, and then they start finding remnants of the team that came before them.
What is this? Wow, what a mansion!
To me, that scares me worse than anything else, and I love it whenever this is done in a movie or a video game, when there's a pre-story, like in The Thing.
Yeah.
You start off at the end of someone else's story.
Yep.
And then it starts your story. So there's a history to it, and you find clues about what's happening to you right now based on like the mangled, murdered bodies of the people that came before.
And that's actually a big thing that I really look for in horror, in the horror genre in general, whether it be books, movies, video games. The biggest fear of anything is a fear of the unknown. If you can't comprehend quite what it is, you're going to start imagining what it is. Right. And you're going to think of the scariest fucking thing imaginable. That's why you bring up that they were attacked by something you're not aware of. You start thinking about it, and then you start seeing the grim scenes that are left behind. And, for hours and hours of gameplay, you're like, what the fuck is going on?
Right.
What am I eventually leading up to here? That unknown fear kind of fades away, I feel, with Resident Evil. But then again, the game is more of a survival horror.
So yes, so you mentioned the term survival horror.
Yes.
That is something that was coined on this game. They were like, this is a survival horror game. So explain to us survival horror.
Survival horror, you are put in a situation that is unfamiliar to you with a very limited set of supplies and even knowledge, and your job is to stay alive.
And I think that's the key, is that it's limited. And that was where the Resident Evil games started getting away from the formula, turning more towards action, when you started off with like kick-ass machine guns and there was a clip every 5 seconds.
Yes.
In Resident Evil, you start off with a handgun and one clip, and you're not given a lot of ammo throughout the game. The guns do get better and cooler as it goes on, but the challenges also get quite a bit harder as the game goes on too. When you first walk into that mansion, it gives you a shot of the entire thing, the whole entryway with that big stairwell and everything, and it gave you those epic movie quality shots, that you didn't normally get in a video game. And then all the doors are locked, so you can really only go one way. They steer you into one direction, which is that first meetup where you walk into that room, you walk into the dining room, and then you go into a hallway, and all you can hear are munching noises and like some slight moans. And the way the camera angle, it's like it's up and to the side, so you're just seeing yourself in a hallway, and you don't know where the hell that horrible noise is coming from. And then you literally walk around the corner, and that zombie is down on the floor, but at the time you can't tell what it is. You just see like a guy in a white coat, and then he slowly turns, and you see that fucked up face. I'll never forget that. That image is like forever sealed in my nightmares.
Yeah, and like most people, you unload all your bullets into it, expecting more later on.
Exactly. But you unload all your bullets, and then you've got nothing left to fight him with.
Yeah, and if you suck like I do, he's still coming at you.
The other crazy thing is that, you can shoot him and he goes to the floor, but don't expect him to be dead, because if you step too close to him, he grabs your leg and starts munching your leg.
I can't handle it.
So terrifying.
We have talked about how it's moved away from its roots. However, the newest installment, Resident Evil 7, they moved into a first-person view as opposed to what they started with, which was a fixed camera point, into a third-person over-the-shoulder.
I've heard this third-person over-the-shoulder. That sounds like a sexual position.
I guess you could make it work that way if you're the camera.
I know for a fact that I've been third-person over the shoulder. I know I have.
Oh god, we're getting off topic. I lost my train of thought here. Thanks. No, that game is truly terrifying.
Yes, 100%.
They went back. You have limited ammo. Your gun doesn't necessarily do exactly what you expect it to do. It's fucking scary.
It takes, not only do you have limited ammo, but it takes a lot of shots from your pistol to put one of those zombies down. Another great thing about Resident Evil that was new is it used to be you could shoot at your enemy. That was it. Mm-hmm. Now you can point your gun up and down. You can shoot him in the legs and he'll fall down and crawl toward you.
Yep.
You shoot him in the head and you can pop his head off if you catch him right. But that's what I liked about the predetermined movements in Resident Evil was that you could plan out those shots. You could take a couple steps back and then be like, I'm going to shoot this guy in the legs or I'm going to shoot this guy in the head.
Yeah.
Early on in the game, if you're Chris, you can't get anywhere. So there's two characters to choose from. Chris Redfield, who's the dude, who I always wanted to be like the cool looking army dude. And then there's a girl, Jill Redfield, and she didn't look nearly as cool, but she could hold way more shit, and she was the master of lockpicking.
Jill, here's a lockpick. It might be handy if you, the master of unlocking, take it with you.
Yes, she was. I mean, third thing, she had a nice ass, and they bring that full circle when they updated her graphics. They updated in the best of ways.
Yeah, you do get a lot of tight cargo pant shots on Jill.
Yeah.
And her shirt is snug as well.
And I can appreciate that. I appreciate the art
but see,
that was put into it.
And I can appreciate that you appreciate that. See, but you had the advantage of being able to play it with better graphics. When I was playing it, all I had was polygonal boobs and a completely square ass that was pretty much just like trimmed out with black.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really anything to look at. So I didn't want to be Jill. I wanted to be Chris. But Chris, he starts off with a knife. You don't even have a gun.
Yeah.
And that knife is goddamn worthless. Unless you're my friend Bob's father, who's like way OCD, and he beat the whole game only using the knife.
I've seen that happen, and a lot of people swear by it because you have it for the entire game. You don't lose ammo on it. Sorry, I'm a pussy. I'm not getting up to those things.
No, me neither. And the knife did not... I mean, you really had to time your swipe well to not get munched on. But I was so fascinated by this story, I wanted to know more. Like, I wanted to know... You get little clues as they're going along, like what happened in this mansion beforehand, and that these scientists were working on this virus that spread throughout the mansion and turned them all into zombies. That fascinated the hell out of me. And where you get little remnants of notes that they've written to like their family, or the one guy talks about how like he's actually describing what it's like turning into a zombie.
Yeah.
And then it just, at the end of the letter, it starts just saying like itchy, bleeding, and then like scribble scrabble, like nothing. And then he pops out of the fucking closet behind you.
Gotcha, bitch.
gnarly shit.
Yeah, but it did become more action oriented, which a lot of people love Resident Evil 4, where you play as Leon with his gay ass haircut.
Leon really is not the hero that I want in my video games.
And I mean, I can't deny that Resident Evil 4 was a good game.
It was a good game.
It just wasn't Resident Evil.
No.
You could have put any other title on it and it would have been
just
as fine, if not better.
We're jumping a little bit ahead of here, but so in Resident Evil, it's the T virus that is created that turns everybody into zombies. That's all I need, is just one virus. It's simple, and let's use that as a plot device through the whole thing. But from the second one on, every game they changed the T virus to have to be something new and something mutated. I was fine with just the T virus, a virus that can't be cured, that turns you into a zombie. What more do you need?
Yeah.
And it doesn't just work on people. And that takes us back to our discussion about the hallway.
Yeah.
Where the first time you find out that there's more than just people crawling around this mansion.
Yeah, now it's fucking terrifying.
You're walking down the hallway, and the glass shatters, and two zombified Doberman Pinschers come running in, and they are fast as hell.
Yeah.
And they bite and they run, and it is gnarly.
And I think one of the biggest pros of that sequence is whoever, I guess you would say, mixed the sound, the audio, made that glass shattering fucking loud.
It was loud, yeah. It was a huge jump scare, probably one of the worst. And even after you had played it and you knew it was coming, it was still horrifying. So as the story progresses, you move through the mansion, which always tight, always dark. Can't ever tell what's going to be around the next corner. You could walk around a corner and there's a zombie right there. And then sometimes you just hear it in the distance and you're like, oh, this is going to suck.
Yeah.
And then you wind up going outside of the mansion, and you fight all this stuff outside the mansion.
Yeah, which to me is a little more terrifying because it's, you know, once you get outside, it's become more of a 3D space.
Right.
You have zombie dogs. I'm waiting for the fucking zombie hawk to come get me.
Right. Yeah, you felt so like at any moment something could come out and get you, and then they take you outside where now things can come from below and above.
Yeah, I mean, you feel claustrophobic through the first 90% of the mansion.
Right.
And then when you finally get outside, you're like, oh, I almost missed the fact that I had 4 walls all around me.
Right.
I knew where something could come from.
And then we get into some other zombie creatures. We find out that there are zombie plants, and there's a motherfucking shark in the basement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't quite understand. The plants and sharks kind of went a little too far for me, personally.
It gets far-fetched, but they take the scariest thing for me, my fear of sharks, and they put it in a goddamn zombie game.
Yeah.
So now I gotta worry about fucking sharks around here too. And when I waded into that water knowing that there was a shark in there, it was terrifying for me.
Yeah, and you know what? I have a fear. I have a fear of water. Not just water, but the fact that there's a 3-dimensional space around me, I feel.
Right.
So, in an example, like the stupidest example, Super Mario 64, the eel in the underwater levels.
Uh-huh.
Fuck that. I was playing The Witcher 3 not too long ago, and I had to have my girlfriend drive my fucking boat to a new island. And I couldn't progress the game until I did it.
Right.
So, yeah, wading into that water with that zombie shark. I don't give a shit about sharks. I'll fight a shark.
You would lose.
I don't care.
A shark will eat your face.
Hey, on my tombstone, you can write, he fought a shark. I think I win regardless.
Dakota McCalman Rose, shark fighter.
Yeah.
That would have been a lot cooler to say at the beginning of the podcast. So maybe
next time.
Maybe you go fight a shark.
Yeah.
You come back, and then we'll talk.
Yeah.
We won't even talk about the fact that you're a shark fighter. It'll
No.
just come up naturally, like you just did.
Yeah.
And then we'll be
that's
like-
how it'll work.
we'll be like, by the way.
I'll take a trip down to the ocean,
Yeah.
and I'll just find the biggest shark. It'll be like going to prison.
Whoa. Now you're getting into weird sexual stuff. I didn't say I want to rape a shark, Dakota. I just said I wanted to. I don't want to fight a shark. You're the one that wanted to fight a fucking shark. All right, we're way off topic here. We got to get back to Resident Evil. So it's fucking sharks in Resident Evil. There's fucking plants. Then the game leads you back into the house, and you're like, all right, you know what? I've been fighting zombies for hours now.
Yeah, I'm dealing with zombie sharks.
Yeah.
Come on, house.
Yeah, how am I even going back in this house? I'm going to fucking rule this house. And then they pop on you, the hunters. I don't even know what the hunters are. They're like little Danny DeVito looking motherfuckers with long claws, and they got claw feet, and they're like...
Yeah, like you brought up Danny DeVito. They remind me a lot of Danny DeVito's Penguin.
Yeah, except like buff and really terrifying.
Yeah, can actually hurt you.
Yeah, like I'm more scared of getting hepatitis C from Danny DeVito's Penguin than I would be of getting like murdered by him. But these things are terrifying.
Yeah.
They have long arms, little crunchy legs, and they have horrifying claws, and they take you out. And you can't kill them with the pistol or like barely with the shotgun.
Yeah.
You have to have like heavy artillery. And if you're smart, you've got the Magnum at this point.
Yeah, from Barry.
Barry. We didn't talk about Barry.
Barry's the
What a
coolest.
fucking chucklehead Barry is, dude. Barry Burton is your side character.
Yes.
And he's worthless.
Whoa. This hall is dangerous.
He shows up after something horrible's happened.
You can shut your goddamn mouth. He held that living room area, that I don't know what it would be, a foyer.
Right.
The entrance. Never a zombie in that room. Thanks to who? Thanks to fucking Barry and his Magnum.
Remember when Barry pulls out his Magnum and he goes, "Don't worry about me, Jill. I've got this."
But how about you, Barry?
I have this.
If I was Jill, I'd be like, "Hey, fucking Bear, how about you fucking come with me with your big ass Magnum instead of us keep splitting up like a couple of dip twats."
Tomato. I like Barry being where he is because I like to think every time I leave the room he fights off a horde of zombies.
That's not what's happening. I feel like Barry's fucking sitting there playing Tetris on his phone while I'm off doing important shit. And Barry keeps showing up at the most inopportune moments, like after I've been attacked by a giant snake or I almost became a Jill sandwich.
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right. Barry, thanks for saving my life.
Because
Yeah.
the roof caved in on me because I didn't have the rusted shotgun. And you know why I didn't have the rusted shotgun, Dakota? Because I didn't have enough room in my goddamn inventory, because I had to have a red herb and a blue herb and a green herb that I had to use because I was poisoned by a poisonous plant. Let's talk about the herb system in this. First off, I didn't know that it was herb, not herb, until I was like 29 years old.
Wow.
Do you know how embarrassing that is to go through life calling salt a herb?
I think that's just inaccurate to begin with.
All right, salt's not a herb, but like, what is a herb? Like fucking paprika?
Sure.
Okay, there's our.
Paprika, that shit you put on deviled eggs and literally nothing else.
Why do they call them deviled eggs? Are they evil? They give you evil smelling farts.
They do.
But is that the reason to call them deviled eggs? Shouldn't they be called like evil spirit eggs? Deviled is like the number one like bad guy evil spirit. Are they that awful?
Back to herbs.
I think with mustard, with too much mustard, they can be that awful.
Back to herbs.
All right, back to herbs.
We're talking about deviled eggs and the origins of their name.
So in this game, it's not like in the old games where you needed like a cheese pizza or a soda to get health.
Wall chicken.
You had to exactly the whole chicken with the bones sticking out the back. Yeah. So in this game, you get herbs, and you start off with green herb, which surprisingly looks a lot like marijuana growing out of a little pot.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be America. You know, Japan kind of takes America however it wants.
Do you think that's how the Japanese see us? That we just like smoke a lot of weed and
You know what? Maybe not 20 years ago or 25 years ago when this game came out. Mm-hmm. But I think today,
yeah.
possibly. At least where I grew up in California.
And I was okay with the fact that like you had to take some green herb to feel better. But then they started adding in like you got poisoned now, which you've been munched on by zombies several times at this point, and you don't have zombie virus somehow.
Yeah.
Because your green herbs kill zombie virus, I guess.
We found the cure for the T virus.
Exactly.
The
It's
green
just
plant that grows out back.
it grows everywhere. Like it's in the hallways.
Yeah.
It's just like sitting on the floor all over the place.
It's fucking crabgrass.
But then if you get like a spider bite or if a plant bites you, then you need other herbs to heal you. And then you have to get good at mixing herbs so that you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But because we have limited space, do I want a shotgun with flame retardant or flame ammo or acid rounds? Or do I want to carry some herbs with me?
You want to know what my mentality throughout that game was?
What's that?
If I have this badass shotgun, if I get poisoned, it's my own damn fault. I should be wrecking shit with this shotgun and not getting touched.
So you put it on yourself as a gamer that you should be better at the game than what the programmers gave you to fix yourself if you are not a proficient gamer.
Yes and no. I took the tools that I thought necessary to move forward in the game, as opposed to fix my mistakes.
Speaking of limited amount of space in your inventory, how frustrating was it when a zombie was kicking your ass and you had 3 goddamn ink ribbons in your pocket instead of shotguns and rounds?
Yeah, I had a very hard time getting over the fact that I needed those goddamn ink ribbons.
You
just to
needed
save
an
my
ink
fucking
ribbon
game.
to save the game, and your ink ribbon you had to carry with you in case you came to a save point. And you might not even come to a save point,
No.
in which case you really could have used those rounds. You also needed to pick up keys to open doors, and those keys took up a place
Yeah.
the same amount of space that a motherfucking shotgun took up, a fucking key took up. I would look at my characters and say, I see 14 pockets in your goddamn pants. You've got areas in your shoes. You could fucking keister it if you had to hide that key where it would not take up as much space as rounds. And yet the key would take up the whole space. And then you run the risk of, if I get rid of this key, what if I come upon some odd door where I'm going to pick up an amazing weapon that I won't be able to pick up because I discarded this key too early? Fuck that, right?
Yeah, I hate it a lot. Mine, the keys, whatever. You got Jill. If you don't get it, you don't get it. I never really had a problem with I've never been 100%er. I've never tried to get every item in every game.
I think that your girlfriend can attest to that.
The fuck does that mean?
I don't know. I slammed you really bad. I don't really know what it means, but
Yeah.
it was below the belt for sure.
Yeah, I feel offended, and I'm
Good.
not sure if I should.
Yeah. No, you should. You should be
Okay.
offended. You get to the end of Resident Evil and you have to fight the ultimate fucking manhunter,
Yep.
and we find out that we've been fucked by who we thought was our team leader, Albert Wesker. He's fucked us. He's thrown us into this mess.
With a name like fucking Wesker, he's so easy to hate.
He's so easy to hate. And he's got those fucking sunglasses on in a haunted house. What the fuck are you doing, man?
He tried every conceivable way to be a fucking douche.
Yeah. And he succeeds. He's
does.
a fucking douche. And he fucked you and your partner Jill. And then he makes you go up against the fucking tyrant, which is like the T-virus, like in fucking bull mode.
Yeah.
Like in fucking strong like bull.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you gotta go fuck that thing up. And the only way you can fuck him up is by shooting him with a rocket launcher.
Hope you saved your rocket ammo.
Yeah.
Just like everything else in that fucking game.
Yeah, but the end of that game is literally a panic attack. You're trying to get to the helicopter.
Yeah.
The fucking the tyrant comes through the roof. He's been chasing you. Plus, you've just dealt with some fucking spider monkey things that are hanging off the roof. That was very upsetting for me.
Yeah.
And then you get up there and you're trying to get to the helicopter, escape the mansion, and you've got to deal with this fucking tyrant. And your only thing is, I think your helicopter pilot throws you down the rocket launcher. He's like, hey, try this.
You know what? Yes, I remember that.
You know what would have been super sweet if he had that rocket launcher on the helicopter to give it to us at the beginning of the goddamn game when we could have fucking used it.
Who knows? Maybe Barry had it in his inventory.
Barry probably did have it, that motherfucker. We could have blown the door off that mansion like a fucking boss, rolled in there and just fucking ignited the place and just burned the zombies to the ground and then been like, what's up, Brad? Come pick us up in the helicopter, man.
You know what, though? If that's the way it was going to be, we wouldn't be talking about it 25 years later.
That's, you know what? It wouldn't have been as much of an adventure.
Yeah.
All right. I understand. Okay. So that's my rant about Resident Evil. I fucking loved it. And then the movie franchise came out too with Mila Jovovich. We'll talk about that real quick. I went into that movie with high hopes because I love the game so much, and it was I had heard sort of based off the first game. So it starts off in the mansion, and for the first 2 minutes you're in the mansion, and then all of a sudden these dudes bust in and they take you into the underground laboratory, which I think was the least interesting part of the first game.
Yeah.
Was when you're in the lab underneath, because they answered too many questions once you're in the lab. You're like, oh, okay, so these things are like created. They're the scientists that were working on the thing. There's also a lot of naked ones down in the lab. Did you notice that? Like a lot of naked zombies.
Yeah.
What were these dudes doing nude when they turned into zombies?
I don't know if it was just like a sick joke that one of the interns played,
Right.
or if that's something they needed to do in order to turn them into zombie. It's
Were they showering?
I don't know. I feel like their like flesh would fall off.
Were they fucking? Do scientists fuck? Were they fucking each other?
That's interesting. Maybe they were.
Were they fucking each other third person over the shoulder style?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it like this. What if they're trying to see if the T-virus can spread sexually?
What if it can spread sexually? What if that's how it mutated into the Gonosypha herpulades T virus?
I could see that.
Yeah, I could see it too. I think it's, I don't know, the STT virus.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
The movie series was kind of like a confusing boner. It was super cool and super badass, but every fiber of my being was like, you shouldn't like this.
Right.
You shouldn't. But it was fucking cool.
I didn't like the way they did the zombies in the movie.
No.
They're pretty much just people with, like, gingivitis.
Yeah.
Odie, I will create dog abuse right here on this podcast. Okay. So, I think I've overly explained that Resident Evil is the scariest game that was ever created. So, I don't think we even need to talk about Silent Hill, because I don't think that you can beat my argument.
Resident Evil is a cool game. I sat here and defended it for however long I've sat here and defended it.
Yeah, you sat here and just agreed with everything I said.
But
why are you even here if you're just going to agree with everything I say?
But here is why it's stupid poopy doo-doo.
All right, I'm here. Let's hear it.
Call this a personal preference, but I am so high and mighty with myself that I know that I am right in this situation. Jump scares do not equal a good, scary environment.
I agree with you, but Resident Evil is so much more than jump scares.
I mean, out of all the scary parts of the game,
Uh-huh.
the only part that I truly remember is the dogs, unless I were to go back and replay it. Silent Hill is, like we had talked about, Resident Evil is a survival horror game.
I would say that Silent Hill is even more of a survival horror game.
And this is where I disagree. I say that it is a psychological horror game by genre.
Yeah,
Because it fucks with your mind.
it does.
It deals with completely normal, everyday corruptions in society.
Oh,
Abuse,
shit, how so?
addiction. I mean,
You're just a dad, and your daughter disappears in Silent Hill.
yeah, you fucked up as a father.
Yeah,
and you're
he's
trying
a
to fix
horrible
it.
dad for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, abuse, addiction, mental illness, greed, guilt. Silent Hill covers all these aspects throughout the course of the whole series. But you brought it up. You are a dad. Silent Hill got this 100% correct, and Resident Evil got it 100% fucking wrong. In Resident Evil, I was playing a character.
Yes.
In Silent Hill, I was playing an everyman, someone that I can put into their shoes. Resident Evil, it's a survival horror game because you're a super badass group of fucking military guys. Silent Hill is more so psychological horror because you're just some dude that's taking all these punches.
Yeah.
And I mean, you talk about the fact that Resident Evil had limited ammo. The creators of Silent Hill specifically made it so you do not have enough ammo to deal with even half the enemies in the game.
Yeah, guns are few and far between in Silent Hill. It's mostly like pipes, bats, and they break down every time you hit something.
Yeah. And the use of the mist, the fog. We talked about how the feeling of first going outside in Resident Evil is, fucking terrifying because it's so much more open, there's so much more to deal with. Imagine that, but they can see you and you can't see them.
Yeah, the atmosphere of Silent Hill does take Resident Evil and spreads it out because you start off outside, you're just running around in the fog, and you see shadows of things coming at you.
Yeah.
And you don't know if it's a stationary car or if it's something horrible.
Yeah.
And they start off by having those little fucking creepy black kid things come out
Yeah,
at
like
you.
shadow children.
Like the shadow children, yeah.
Fuck that.
That's super terrifying. And then they do what I liked in Resident Evil, which was they do crazy camera angles. Silent Hill takes that to the next level.
Yes. Which I do have to give Resident Evil credit. Silent Hill probably wouldn't have done it the way it did it if not for Resident Evil that came out 6 years prior.
Right.
Silent Hill, the first one, came out in 1999. Resident Evil came out in 1993. Quote me if I'm wrong, but I think these are U.S. releases.
Right, yeah. Because it came out as Biohazard. Resident Evil was Biohazard in Japan, and it was released and successful before it even came to America. They changed it because there was already a game called Biohazard. There was already a band called Biohazard, and so they felt like that word was not used.
It didn't hold the weight.
Yeah, it didn't hold the weight. And so they actually held a contest in the office to come up with the title, and they came up with Resident Evil, which, looking back at it now with all the nostalgia, like, it's such a cool title. But back then, it was an odd title. Like, why would they call it Resident Evil?
Well, we talk about titles. I mean, Silent Hill is just the name of small town America.
Right. But if you put anything before Hill, it sounds spooky. It's like
It does.
It's like Scooby-Doo rules.
Yeah. Unless it's, like Hank Hill.
Even Hank Hill sounds like a serial killer.
What the hell kind of country is this where I can only hate a man if he's white?
But yeah, like if you call it like Pirate Hill, ugh,
Yeah.
there's gonna be scary stuff going on that hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Silent Hill's no exception.
Yeah. If you called it Meadow Hill, even that kind of sounds scary.
Yeah, it seems like you should be on your guard.
You're like, ugh, Meadow Hill.
Yeah.
Everything with Hill, yeah, it's gonna be scary.
And Silent Hill also is more of a psychological horror game. So for those of you who aren't quite familiar with this kind of aspect of horror, there's jump scare horror, which to me in film and video games you can't really pull it off in books because it's all about the suspense and the final jump.
Well, you can, like, if your wife is reading a book.
That's true.
And then you come into the room and you just go, and grab the book out of her hand. That's a good jump scare
yeah,
in a book.
And you realize she's reading, like, Pride and Prejudice, and she's just like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, she's like, why are you being such an asshole? And I'm like, ha ha!
Dakota said I could do it. But psychological horror, that...
A psychological horror? Is that what you said?
A psychological horror.
Oh, okay. Horror.
Isn't...
And horror. Do you think those go together on purpose?
And
what would a psychological horror be? Would she be somebody who just like...
She fucks with your head.
She fucks with your head?
Yeah.
And fucks with your balls?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you pay her for that. Come on.
Right, yeah. Okay.
I don't even think I finished my first point.
I'm sorry.
Jump scares are cheap. They're cheap and easy when it comes to writing. Jump scares are cheap and easy. And if you want somebody to be scared, it's just the fucking easy way out.
See, I think it's easy when it's a cat, but when done well, for instance, in The Ring, when she opens the closet and that chick's in there and she's just all like, ah, that's a good jump scare.
I'm not a fan of jump scares in general. I feel like they're super cheap. They're very formulative.
Yes.
I do appreciate it when a director or writer, whoever decided to do this, performs the build-up, but never delivers, because that just turns you on your fucking head.
Now, see, that's the thing, is like, I feel like it's all about, like, the audience is smart nowadays, so you really have to trick them into a jump scare. Insidious, the last Insidious movie, did a really good job of, it was Insidious: The Last Key.
Okay.
Did a really good job of having jump scares by not giving you the jump scare when you expected the jump scare, and then having it when you don't.
I don't care about the big scary payoff. I want to be able to put it down and walk away and be like, oh shit, I was actually terrified.
Right. And I think Silent Hill did that amazingly.
Exactly,
because
yes.
I would walk away from that game and I was still scared. Like, it would take it with me.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, like, I was just like, I would play it late into the night. Me and my buddy would play it till like 2 a.m, and then I had to drive him to his dorm room across town. And that was the scariest drive of my whole life.
I actually wrote a paper about this in high school. Everyone knows about the sense of fight or flight.
Right.
When you take away your ability to do either, panic sets in.
Right.
Wait, panic is the base form of fear when you're talking about experiencing something like a video game or a movie.
Right.
If you start to panic, it's working. So very similarly, roller coasters. You know, you're stuck there. Like, one of the big ones back home, Knott's Berry Farm, was Supreme Scream. One of those ones where it goes up probably 200 feet and drops you. But you're climbing slowly. You know, you can't fight, you can't get away, so you start to panic. And both of those games do that very well.
One of the things that I think is scarier even than Resident Evil is very biological. It's a biological scare.
Yes.
It's something that you can shoot it, you can kill it, you can fight it. In Silent Hill, you're dealing with a supernatural element that you can't always fight and kill.
That you can't even comprehend 100%.
And what's crazy is that there's 2 levels of scare in Silent Hill, because it goes from a foggy, scary place, and then your little air raid siren thing starts going off.
Yeah.
And then it becomes hell on earth.
Yeah.
And gets really scary. And then there's demons and shit.
It reminds me a lot of the works of H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah, like dudes wrapped in barbed wire.
It's creatures that you can't fully comprehend, and because you can't comprehend them, it scares the shit out of you.
We have to talk about, if you're going to talk about Silent Hill, you have to talk about the sexy nurse cleavage with creepy no-face.
Oh, yeah.
Those nurses are terrifying.
They are.
There's something, and I don't know what it is, sexuality and horror are combined. In at least for me. And you're looking at me like I'm a pervert.
No, I've researched this myself. I feel like it has something to do with like wires getting crossed. Something that you know you should enjoy and something you know you shouldn't enjoy.
Right. So when you see like a nurse with really nice titties, and then you see she's got a dead no face.
And her fucking movements are...
Yeah, she's
fucking crazy.
She pop locks.
Yeah.
And she has a knife. They all have knives in their hand. There's multiple of these nurses.
Yes.
And when you move, they start moving. Horrifying.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think, if I'm going to die, I'm going to motorboat one of these bitches real quick before they kill me.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the way you want to do it. I just said I'd want to fight a shark.
That's true. We didn't go into it when we were talking about Resident Evil, but I used to always make my friends laugh because they were like, what would you do if there was a zombie, like if the world broke out in zombies? And a lot of my friends were like, well, I'd go to this dude's house because he's got all these guns and we'd fucking fight him. I'm like, I would wait till the zombies got right on me, and then I'd fucking blow my own head off in front of them and be like, you ain't gonna get me, bitch.
Just deny them of their
Just
wants.
deny them. Yeah, like I'm fucked, but I'm still gonna fucking give them a what for, like in the end. Like I'm
give
not
them the giant middle finger.
Yeah. Hope you like your bits and pieces cold, motherfucker.
Yeah.
That's my horror movie out every time. Scary shit happens, I'm gonna blow my own head off. And my buddy Bob was like, well, what happens if like you like beat the horror and the scary stuff and everything goes back to normal? I'm like, it doesn't matter because I'm never gonna fucking sleep again because I've seen horrible shit.
Yeah.
So I'd just rather be dead. Whenever I see post-apocalyptic stuff, like I'm never like, yeah, dude, that would be me. I'm like, no, dude, if I can't turn the faucet and water comes out of it, I'm just gonna shoot myself. Like, I don't want to have to go scrounging for food and fighting people for like to live and all that stuff.
And that's what I think a lot of people, when they do these fantasies like you're talking about, I feel like they assume there will be an end to it. Eventually we'll be able to go back to normal society. Fuck, that's wrong.
Yeah.
If we spiral that out of control, there's a reason. It means we're not going back.
Unless you're in Stephen King's The Mist, where they do my out. Spoiler alert.
Gotta do an episode on that fucking book / show / movie.
We totally should. But spoiler alert, they off themselves in the Mist.
The dad offs his son.
Yeah. And then the shit clears up and the army comes in to save everybody
before he can off himself.
Right afterwards.
Yeah,
exactly.
that was bucked
now
up.
That's a fucking ending to a story.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be my luck too, is that I would like snuff my whole family and then I'd be the last one left and I'd be out of bullets or the poison wouldn't work on me. It would just make me shit myself and lay there with cramps all night next to my dead family, just shitting myself and cramping. That's my life, dude.
There really was no moment of like take a deep breath either.
No, yeah, that's what I was saying. It's so claustrophobic because it doesn't let up.
Yeah,
If
it wasn't
anything-
like you could go back to Barry and you knew that area was safe.
Goddamn Barry again, man. Fuck Barry.
Barry made it safe in that room.
Barry wouldn't last 2 seconds in Silent Hill.
Oh no, God, no. No, fuck no.
No, he would be carried off by the pterodactyl creature in like the first couple minutes.
Those things, where we're getting into like all the scary shit and it's all flooding back to me in waves.
Are you gonna
I
start having
love
like?
Silent Hill.
Are you gonna start twitching and like?
I'm gonna start popping and locking like the nurses. But yeah, at its core, it's symbolism for real world corruptions.
What?
You don't understand that?
No, explain it to me.
You're the one that's saying.
Enlighten me.
You're the one that is saying that you wanna motorboat the fucking sexy nurse babes.
That has nothing to do with real world corruption. That's just me being horny.
Exactly. Humanity as a whole is horny, and some would argue that is the decline of civilization, is when that takes over.
I 100% agree with you. Like every major skirmish or war that we've got into in human history
has been over
pretty
pussy.
much been over pussy. Yeah.
But yeah, stuff like abuse, redemption from your evil deeds is a super big deal with all the main characters throughout the series. You come to Silent Hill to fix something. I gotta find my daughter. I gotta find my dad. I gotta this, that, the other thing. It's people trying to get away from...
I wouldn't even look for my daughter. If I crash my car and I wake up because
I've seen your daughter. She could probably handle her fucking self in
She
Silent
would probably
Hill.
take Silent Hill out. She would take those fuckers out. But me, I would be like, nope, it's foggy out there. Bitch shouldn't have got out of the car.
But it's... Even, again, we're talking about the sequels, Pyramid Head. That was the main character saying, there should be someone who punishes me for my sins.
What is Pyramid Head?
Pyramid Head was a manifestation completely made to punish the main character.
So he's like a god, but like
Kind of.
He's like a devil. Is like
Kinda
Greek
like-
mythology type stuff. Is he like the god of pain?
No, he's
The
just
god of
like he's,
redemption?
I guess you could say he's like a devil made specifically for the character.
Why does he have a pyramid for a head?
No, that's basically because the creators wanted a faceless monster.
He's got a pyramid for a head.
He does, and pretty badass, pretty fucking terrifying. You see a guy with a giant pyramid on his head, a fucking butcher's apron, and a giant meat cleaver as a fucking buster sword.
It does make you say, what's going on here? There's a lot of stuff going on here.
Yeah.
Now, in the first movie, I hadn't played the second game, so my first introduction to Pyramid Head was in the movie Silent Hill.
Oh.
And he walks up the stairs and rips somebody's fucking skin right off their body.
Yeah, one foul swoop, all the skin comes off.
And I was having a panic attack in the theater watching that movie. Not because of the movie, because I didn't want to go out because I was feeling very anxious. And my friends made me go out, and I didn't want to tell them that I was a big pussy and having a panic attack. Mm-hmm. This is early on. Now I'd be like, hey, fuck you guys. I feel like shit. I'm not going out. This is when I was like, I don't want to tell anybody that I have panic or they're going to think I'm weird. So I would go out and just like shake in the theater. Like the whole row of chairs was like shaking because I was shaking so hard. And I'm sure nobody thought, well, Jason's weird.
And see, I'm one of those where I saw that scene and I'm like, oh, they just did that for shock value.
I was shocked. I think I audibly said, Jesus Christ.
And see, I don't like that shit. Anything where I can like assume the mindset of the person who made the movie, I'm already out.
See, no, so I'm like that with like M. Night Shyamalan. Like whenever it comes to his little trick endings,
Yeah.
I just picture his stupid little Indian ass like sitting at the computer, like typing and being like, ho, 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 I'm so clever. They'll never see this one coming. And like, I hate that. But like when somebody shocks me where like they tear the skin off some motherfucker and I'm like, ho, 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 ho.
See, and I'm
Didn't see that
and I'm
coming.
like, okay, the fucking writer sat down and said, what is the grossest fucking thing we can think of, gore wise?
Right.
Rip all the skin off, and I'm like, that. Fuck you. There are snuff films.
So
from the
you
80s
just
that
you
are
see
fucking
that and
crazier
you're just
than
not
this.
even shocked. You're just like, just another day at the cinema.
And it's not even another day at the cinema. It's like, wow, that was fucking lazy. I feel like I should put my money where my mouth is and write a fucking horror movie.
Yeah,
because
seriously,
all I'm
'cause-
doing is talking shit on everybody else.
You're right. You're just like saying like, you hacks, you hack jobs.
Yeah, but
How dare you even try to scare me?
But I wouldn't even do that. I wouldn't like create things for shock value or jump scares.
You're gonna fucking show them by not making a movie. You're
No,
gonna show
you
those
know what?
motherfuckers.
You know what? Fuck you. I'm gonna write a horror movie, and it's going to be a 2.5 hour fucking panic attack for your pussy ass.
Awesome. That is what I would love to see now, because nothing scares me anymore.
Really?
Yeah, like back when Silent Hill came out, I was still shocked by things. Now I've gotten into
Now you've had
like,
2 kids.
I've had 2 kids. I've seen a human head come out of a woman's vagina.
Yeah.
I dare you to make something scarier than that. It was horrifying.
But yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at. I the more I think about it and the more I say it, the more I'm like, God, I'm just a fucking horror snob. And I'm like, you know what? I'll take that. I'll take that and wear it on my sleeve.
Yeah, but that's a good thing in some things because, it's not your fault that they made 9 Saw movies. Fuck those guys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's what I was saying. I was like, the only way people always complained, there's another Saw movie coming out. I can't believe this. And
Quit
I'm like,
going and watching the fucking Saw movies.
Stop going and see the Saw movies. They'll stop making Saw movies. You're like, well, I had to go see if it sucked. Well, did it suck? Yeah. Well, there you fucking go. They're never gonna get good again.
I saw the trailer for the new one. There's fucking like laser beams in it or some shit. Like on the collars.
What?
There's like weird lasers coming up out of them.
It's getting crazy. And the guy died in the third one, and they're still saying that like he did post-humorous traps.
I didn't think there was humor at all.
I said posthumous. Was that? I think is that the wrong word?
I don't know. Either way, I'm turning a pun out of it.
If you die, I think it's post-humanous. Humanous? I don't know.
The
Audience.
guy's fucking dead.
I know the audience wants to kill us right now, so they'll let us know though.
Yeah, but yeah, that's why I like Silent Hill so much more than Resident Evil. From minute 1 to the ending, I am locked up, terrified, but at the same time, because I'm so terrified, I want to get it over with, which is the drive that's pushing me forward.
Right. It's like having sex with a fat girl.
Sure.
You're so like, I wish that I wouldn't have got myself into this, but now that I'm in it, I do want to have the outcome, but I want to get this over with as fast as possible and figure out what I'm going to say to this girl to get out of her apartment without hurting her feelings.
See, this also comes back to you're a generation. We're a different generation. You have a lot more life experience than I do. I haven't had the pleasure of dealing with that monstrosity just yet.
You know what? Better for you.
I'm glad. But that's Silent Hill is just it. The music, the setting, the monsters, everything is just fucking terrifying. I can always go back to it and know I'm gonna get scared, which it's easier in video games, but I mean in film, you go back and rewatch a scary movie, it's not gonna be as scary a second time. Typically. There are exceptions.
Well, and one of them is Resident Evil, because no matter how many times you play it, you always flinch when the dogs jump through that fucking window.
Yeah. Yeah, because it happens right after you expect it to.
Right.
No amount of training can prepare you for that moment.
Kind of like seeing Pyramid Head tear off somebody's skin. No amount of training can prepare you for that moment.
I mean, maybe I'm just like disillusioned to all that, or what is the term? Desensitized.
So as far as story goes, though, like I get like Resident Evil has a really memorable story that I can remember the beginning, middle, and end.
Yes.
Of the story. For the life of me, I can't remember what happens in Silent Hill, why Silent Hill's fucked up to begin with.
I can give that to you. Resident Evil has a better story. It also has a better overarching story. It seems like Silent Hill, it's a different person making the same fucking mistake, which is going to the town of Silent Hill.
Is Silent Hill a place on the map that you can go to? Doesn't it just appear in different places like Elm Street?
No, if I remember right, in the game they don't explain it, but in one of the strategy guides, well, here's the thing. In the games, it's supposed to be a town in Maine. In the movies, if I remember right, it's in West Virginia. So I don't think the setting matters a whole lot, but I think it is supposed to be just like... I almost like to think of it as like a realm outside of ours.
Like the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, like you're going down the road and you cross over to another dimension, which is the Silent Hill. I feel like that's the way my brain interprets it.
Right.
Because the fucked up shit that happens in Silent Hill would ripple throughout the goddamn world.
Right.
Otherwise.
Which now I'm realizing is a lot like Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Because they go to the upside down. And it's kind of Silent Hill-ish, where the world is still the same. Like, you could still go from your house to the shed in your backyard.
Yeah.
But there's like a weird hell version of that, where there's creatures alive that you don't see. You could be in the shed in like the regular world, and it's just foggy outside. But then you could be in the shed in the upside down, and there you're fighting a fucking creature.
Yeah.
And sometimes the people on the other side get a little hint of that if they have functioning Christmas lights.
Yeah, it's I always liked the idea of these aspects of horror happening outside of a realm of our own, because something like Silent Hill, I can't immerse myself in that knowing that it's just some fucking small town where the witches from Salem came and it's all spooky and shit. Because I mean, you get the fucking county sheriff to come down and they're like, what the fuck's going on here?
The county sheriff did come down in Silent Hill, and they put her on a ladder and they fried her alive.
Well, I mean,
another really disturbing scene.
Then it always goes up. You were talking about the movie again. God, it's been forever since I watched those. I need to like go back and rewatch and replay everything.
Maybe you should have done that before you came on a podcast to talk about it.
Yeah.
You worthless sack of shit.
Well, I'm still telling you why Silent Hill is better. You know, then it would move up. And this isn't just in Silent Hill or Resident Evil or anything. It's just like, you know, eventually, you know, the military gets involved. Then this gets involved. Then it'll always escalate until the problem is solved. If it's outside of like a realm of our own, it's kind of outside of those boundaries.
Right.
I feel like current times are also some of the shittiest times to write your horror films or games.
Well, you have a super you have a super in tune audience that is not going to put up with any horse shit. So you definitely can't just be a lazy writer or creator anymore.
Well, I'm saying to apply the setting. 2018, this is my new horror movie.
Right, it is difficult, especially like you always have to explain now like the cell phone thing.
Exactly.
They always have to have a reason why the cell phones don't work, so that they can't call for help. I have an author that I really like, and his name's Bentley Little, and
that's a fucking cool name.
Exactly, right? And so like, and Stephen King loves this dude's stuff. He always has like quotes from Stephen King's on his novels. But anyway, and he's got a bunch of novels, but his novels are so cool because it's always this crazy fucked up situation. It just so happens that he always writes about Arizona. So it's like all stuff that happens around here.
Very similar to H.P. Lovecraft or Stephen King.
Exactly.
He has his own county.
He has his own county, but he doesn't even have a fictional town in Arizona. He like uses like Payson, Prescott, Flagstaff.
Fuck, really?
Yeah. So he always writes around here, and the stuff that happens in his books is always crazy and supernatural, and it's not like, and people like, it gets out there, like it goes from like it happens to a person, then that's on the news, then the government gets involved, and it winds up being this whole world thing, which, you know, that adds a problem that he has to deal with, you know, to have it, because that expands his story. He has to touch on it, but he just does that. He just touches on it a little bit, that this is not just an isolated thing, it's a worldwide event that is supernatural, that's happening to everybody. And it's so cool like that, because there's not that like, well, the little kid finds out about the ghost or whatever, but his parents never find out because they don't believe him, you know?
Yeah.
Like, the something fucked up happens, and then the little kids tell the parents, and then the parents, like, come into the room, and instead of it being gone, it's there and it's worse now. And the parents are like, oh my God!
Very similar, one of the games that I play with my friends, very similar. You know, a whole town will start to hear about it. But before it spreads out anymore, that's when you start to play with like a secret government fucking agency that comes in to wipe out the whole town.
Right. That's what's cool with like Stranger Things.
Yeah.
You know, it starts getting into that and like the black government and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I love all that shit because I don't trust the government any farther than I can.
And I feel like that's almost kind of what you can take the stars as. They're kind of like the unit that goes in that's kind of hush hush.
Right.
So no one else has to understand that there's a fucking bioweapon.
Yeah.
That's turning everybody into fucking cannibals.
They're like the badass Men in Black.
Yeah.
Without Tommy Lee Jones. Tommy Lee Jones couldn't even pass his physical to be in the Men in Black. It's horseshit.
Nah, it's fine. It's Tommy Lee Jones.
He's old and busted. He's been
So,
a new
so
hot.
what? So is Harrison Ford.
He's not in Men in Black.
Yeah, but are you going to tell me that if they redid an Indiana Jones movie, he wouldn't pass the physical, so he's not going to play fucking Indy?
Was that your Indiana Jones impression?
No.
Or was that my... Was that me?
Yeah, it was.
Oh my God.
That's my generic dumbass who doesn't know what they're talking about.
I see. All right. Well, I've never heard an impression of me. I'm touched. I really am touched. So, basically, the end of this podcast is that you are wrong, and that I'm right, that Resident Evil is a better franchise.
I mean, the fans can decide that because
I think
Silent
they
Hill
already
was
have.
definitely scarier.
I think they already have decided that because I don't know anything about Silent Hill 7 where you are first person in Silent Hill.
Resident Evil 7. But
I know. I'm telling you that exists and Silent Hill does not. Silent Hill's kind of gone by the wayside.
I will give you that. Yeah, Resident Evil's come back.
All right. That brings us to the end of this episode. Dakota, I want to thank you for coming by and spreading your video game knowledge.
Of course.
And I want to say to everybody out there, please keep looking at what we're doing. Let us know how we're doing. You can contact us on Facebook and Instagram. We're now posting on YouTube. Again, thanks to Dakota here. He came up with our logo, and he came up with a motion graphic for getting posted on YouTube. He was the one that let me know that millennials like to watch podcasts on YouTube.
I don't appreciate you associating me with those people.
I'm just saying, it's not your fault you were born when you were.
That's true.
But not that there's anything wrong with millennials. I love millennials.
I don't.
But yeah, so now we're on YouTube thanks to Dakota. So follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter at talking_poop. And we'll see you guys next time on Talking Poop.